Marketing channels are how the goods and services and value move between producers and consumers. They are made up of organizations like manufacturers, wholesalers, agents, brokers, and retailers, all working together to bring goods and services to the customer. Each of these units forms a link in the value chain, described as the chain of activities and institutions that add value to a product on its way from production to the end consumer. Within the channels, each member is a marketing firm with its own customers to serve. Each firm is also a customer in that it purchases goods and services from another member in the channel. So when thinking about sustainability and competitive advantage, we must consider innovation from a whole system perspective. In earlier units, we discussed how failing to consider the big picture in economic or environmental terms can lead to unintended consequences and undesirable trade-offs. Likewise, decisions made anywhere along the marketing channels have consequences for the overall sustainability and profitability of a product. Traditionally, we have thought of marketing channels or value chains in a linear fashion, with goods and services flowing from manufacturers to consumers and money flowing from consumers back to the manufacturers. Marketing channels were typically viewed as a throughput system, a system in which materials go in and materials go out with no accounting for their origination or final destination. As we've seen in sustainable marketing, there are no throughput systems. The materials originate from somewhere, the earth, and end up back somewhere, back in the earth, whether in landfills or into the atmosphere. The traditional linear thinking of the marketing channel is unsustainable. Waste is a major cause of costs and problems in marketing channels. It is generated in some form at virtually every link in the value chain. Historically, waste has been disposed of in the simplest and cheapest ways possible. The most obvious issue is that waste pollutes. Linear throughput systems increase concentrations of toxic substances in the environment, which destroy or reduce the effectiveness of natural systems and create problems for human health and well-being. Waste is expensive. It costs money to create waste, and it costs money to dispose of waste. The goal is to properly manage waste so that it can be eliminated or converted into a source of revenue. In the natural world, every waste product is a vital input to other organisms and life processes. Plants create food and oxygen to sustain animal life. Animal waste creates fertilizer to build soil that allows plants to thrive. Biomimicry, where industrial processes are modeled after biological processes, bred the cradle-to-cradle philosophy, whereby all industrial waste can and should be eliminated by making sure that all of it either serves as biodegradable nutrients for natural systems or is reclaimed for reuse in human technological systems. Cradle-to-cradle certification helps companies design products that can be reabsorbed by nature or reintroduced to the technosphere through recycling. Manufacturers who receive this certification produce with renewable energy, use water efficiently, and treat people responsibly. Cradle-to-cradle thinking results in marketing channels that require firms to think more responsibly about the waste they produce and to reduce it dramatically. As early as the 1970s, marketers have recognized the need for reverse logistics, which is the systematic movement of waste backward through the marketing channels in order to convert it back into reusable raw materials. This is no easy feat and has presented a challenge for manufacturers for decades. One way for reverse logistics to work is for retailers to take recyclable materials back, like packaging, plastic bags, and used products. Consider electronics retailers who now provide programs for returning used electronics to be disposed of in a responsible manner. To become sustainable, these backward flows materials must become normal, forward flows, transforming the value chain into the value circle, where end-of-life materials go back into the production chain at the manufacturing stage and are reused. Prior to recycling, many products can continue to provide value. Secondary markets are markets that provide used or surplus goods at prices that are well below the initial retail prices. Thrift stores are an example of one type of secondary market that sell used clothing. When the clothing ends its useful life cycle, the majority of it is valued as recycled material. But even before it reaches that stage, the thrift store industry can provide much sought-after used goods to a growing market. Closing the loop on a value circle has many advantages. It helps keep harmful waste out of the environment, converts waste and disposal costs into sources of revenue, provides industry with stable supplies of raw materials without depleting natural capital, and builds human capital by providing living wage jobs for more people. We are seeing an increase in cooperation across industries. Often, the waste generated from one industry can be used as resources for another. Marketing channels exist and thrive because they add value for customers. Channel members attempt to maximize their own profits, and those with the most channel power have advantages in doing so. Channel power is the influence of one member of the marketing channel over the actions or circumstances of other members. Through cooperation, collaboration, and communication, channel members can innovate, create synergies, and build value that benefits everyone. Value circles work best when channel member relationships are open and collaborative. Collaboration, at its best, will strive to include the perspectives of both the upstream channel members, a company's supply chain, and the downstream channel members, a company's customers and their customers, on down to the final consumers of the company's product. Transparency is key. The organization's operations and practices must be open and visible to outside observers. As we discussed in previous units, it is an important element in sustainable marketing. It makes it possible for all stakeholders, including other channel members, investors, and customers, to evaluate the sustainability of a product as it moves through the marketing channels. An important function of marketing channel transparency is the ability to establish the chain of custody. This is the movement and possession of materials from their current places back to their origins. Consumers and retailers often have to rely on third-party certification to verify that products meet certain standards. These third-party certifiers pay careful attention to the chain of custody in the marketing channel. Building sustainable channel capacity is an ongoing challenge for many industries. A common barrier to sustainable marketing is the lack of production capacity among sustainable producers. Major players in the market can use their financial advantages to help increase sustainable channel capacity at a base level. Where the demand for a sustainable product outstrips production, help is often needed at a higher level to help the resource producers make the necessary changes to become sustainable producers. Sustainable distribution emphasizes efficiency and carbon neutrality in the distribution of products. The marketing channel functions of transportation and logistics get the products where they need to be in a timely fashion. These functions also contribute largely to a product's ecological footprint. Sustainable distribution places a great focus on local production and incorporates material backflows, allowing manufacturers to replace virgin materials with recyclables more easily. Green facilities and warehousing can offset the damaging aspects of building and parking lots by more sustainable building practices like those advocated and monitored by LEED certification programs. Green transportation is another area where huge opportunities for increased sustainability can be found. As it turns out, the mode of transportation is much more relevant to sustainability than the distance traveled. Air transportation creates the largest number of greenhouse gas emissions, and truck transportation is also a huge source of greenhouse gas emissions. So, this being one of the most common modes of transportation, and as such cannot be eliminated, steps must be taken to create more responsible packaging to reduce weight and increase the amount of product being transported in each trip. Another step to offset the damages being caused is to shorten the channels and simplify them. This is called disintermediation, which means reducing the number of roles of intermediaries in a marketing channel. Channel members exist because they add value to the system. As circumstances change, the value of certain intermediaries becomes redundant and may even decrease to the point that they add more cost or waste than their service can justify. The marketing channel needs to be evaluated and re-evaluated regularly to ensure that value is being added at every step of the process. Where intermediaries can be reduced, thus shortening the channels, actions should be taken. Retailing has a key role in the marketing channel. It is the primary interface between consumers and the rest of the value circle. Retailers can facilitate the move to a more sustainable society through influencing suppliers, educating consumers, merchandising, and taking back recyclables. Supply chains and value circles function at their most optimal when each member of the chain takes a whole system perspective. Sustainability is influenced and achieved at every step in the process, and each member has a responsibility to make its area as sustainable as possible.